So 30th September, nearly through the month. Quick run through the STOXX 50, usual format. AB InBev looks to be working up towards this 6150. Probably not a lot going on here on the relative just yet, but still. But yeah, some signs of life there versus the STOXX 50, STOXX 600, but still early days. But look, the big level here is 6150. Can it work up there? I think if you're seeing names like AB InBev make new highs, it's going to be bullish for other assets, in my opinion. Royal Ahold, really nice in terms of how it's worked back up here to this 3150. Again, just getting caught there, but I'd say no real harm, and this has gone nowhere for 3 years. Again, if we're going to get a little run for markets, you would think that will go with it. Adidas, that's a really neat little break higher. Again, follow through today. We talked about it last while. This little range has been pretty tight and almost a little fake out low there, and quick rally, so strong, and looks like I can't see why this isn't going to get up towards this prior high here at just above 300. So it has room. So definitely one of the better looking ones. Adyen also working higher. Really nice steady build in here. That should get back towards 1600. You would think. Harder work always, but that still looks stronger, especially with peers better. Air Liquide extending. Strongest ones are going first, and it's definitely in that camp. Note the relative strength. So always high quality. Airbus, again, we've kind of flagged this a few times. You're just noticing it doesn't have the same power as some of the others. Like, look at the relative here; it's kind of drifty. So yeah, not like a complete damage setup, but just not moving with the market, and that's always a red flag. Allianz, good, but just into really extended territory for now. You can see probably just running out of a little bit of gas up here into the 300. Makes some sense if you look at even just kind of the day count here of days up. Like, it's definitely into extended territory. So I would think just let this work off some overbought conditions, and I'm sure it'll be fine into the end of the year. ASML, look, I think this is a consolidation, or an accumulation phase. It's messy. It's like there's no really clear bullish technical angle as I would see it, but sometimes you just have to kind of go through these chop phases where it maybe doesn't make sense and isn't perfect, but yet you just have to have the conviction that this was a big gap up. Market's not sure what to do with itself here, but ultimately I think this will be above 1000 in due course. BASF, again, like lots of things have held in pretty well. I don't really see this as a big long-term winner, but certainly feels like that 40 is a near-term low and has reset quite nicely. Bayer, neat break higher last week, got above this little range. We'll see now what sort of conviction there is. Obviously working off a really long period of underperformance. We'll see if there's enough power to keep it going, but a decent basing effort through 2024. BBVA is fine. Don't see it being a relative winner, but neutral could be just bang on in terms of share price performance. BMW, obviously down today on the VOW news, but let's just see how far it gives up. I would think if this finishes this week or today or whenever better than here, which is kind of 78, I think that would be deemed a reasonably good result. And as long as we're avoiding kind of really big moves down here, I think people will start to get more convicted on it. Broken setup, not great long term, but we'll see if it can get some stability down here. Danone has held in very well, nice and tight up here as it tries to make a new high. hard to fault it. Looks good. BNP, yeah, I think it's just starting to struggle here, which we kind of thought this level would be a challenge, and yeah, just a little bit. You can see the relative here is fading, just not one that you think is going to lead us here. So yeah, it does look to be struggling. AXA, just similar to Allianz in that, look, I think the move has probably run its course for now, and just they need time now to settle down. Deutsche Börse, that's probably the opposite really. I think this could be just gaining momentum. Has done nothing wrong since it's popped out of this range, consolidates tight, and yeah, it's a bit extended here, but it's had this little period of sideways, so still think there could be another move in that. Vinci, all the French names are a bit weaker today, and yeah, just couldn't get over the moving average, pull back. I don't think it's going to fall apart, but again, they're just, it's like you can see why the relative will be a challenge, because it still has this 120 to get over, so it's just going to be a bit of a slow grind, I think, on that, bar some sort of quick catalyst that comes in. DHL, in fairness, like it's tightened up again, had got below here, starting now to put some pressure on the moving average, and yeah, you could argue that that's got room back up here, and just to hold in that range. It's just not high quality, so it's hard to be too convicted on it. Deutsche Telekom, again, like the insurance guys, just needs time now to let the moving averages catch up. SLR, still be one of our, most convicted ideas, I think. Has done nothing wrong all through this phase. Last week post Meta event was slightly disappointed that it didn't see a bit more, but that came then and kind of later in the week, and yeah, still think that this story is still going to have more legs as people start to probably get more and more into kind of the meta derivatives. It's clearly been very strong, and this looks like the cleanest non-meta play that there is, so really like that angle on it. NL, very good. Dip back, got bought, trying to make new highs, probably run ahead of Iberdrola now. ENI, yeah, these are all kind of just hanging in, nothing brilliant, but just holding. Iberdrola, again, much like NL just looks a bit timely here, but good resets last week, probably better than lots of other names, and yeah, you'd still think that can work higher, but probably just not as timely now as it was coming out of that base. Infineon, I would say back in play, back above 30, back with, now it's not above the moving average, but this 37 now is coming into range, and love to see that tighten up to maybe have a go and test the 37, retrace a small bit, and then really start to shape for a bigger move. So that does look interesting. ING, fine, but just you can see lacking a bit of relative momentum, and that's across the sector. Overall, not a bad setup, and I think if earnings are good, these will be all higher, but just lacking that catalyst short term. Intesa, probably still the lead indicator for the banks, because it's just acted better and has been ahead of them all, and if it is the template for the others, then we should see new highs across the board, but let's just wait and see. Inditex, you can see kind of it and Adidas now are kind of tracking each other quite closely. Inditex had led, but Adidas trying to catch up. Very good setup, and yeah, looks like it wants to get into a little groove. Kering, dare I say it, it may well have bottomed, which could have said that lots of times, but actually if you examine it here, it's clearly had a very, very big move. We're gone from 800 to, what did we get down to? Let's just call it 200 or close to it. There's a little bit of an island reversal down here, which I'll zoom in on, just there. Not massive, but we know it came with the rest of the sector. And then you've engulfed kind of 2 or 3 weeks of price action in 3 or 4 days. Now it's obviously all China related, but that does look different to some of the other ones, the other attempts. So early days, but that it and some of the others in the sector now look much more interesting. Now whether Kring's going to be the best, I very much doubt it, but encouraging. Mercedes, same call as BMW. You're going to know this week whether these guys have bottomed or not, because if they don't give back too much, then I think that's, and given the amount of negative news flow, that's probably your tell. So let's see how we go this week. LVMH, we've been saying for kind of weeks that it needed to stop at a level. It stopped here first, I think. Was it here? Yeah, this one at 620, and the kind of point at that point was that, look, it wasn't an obvious support. Now 600 was better. 545 would have been absolutely perfect, but look, we can only take what we get, and 600 does look like a decent level. You can see here there was a clear in on the day because it opened red here and rallied, and that was it reclaimed the made a low and reclaimed it on the day, and then the next day you get the China news. So this was a tell to at least be less bearish, and obviously it worked really well. You would think this 730, 740 now is going to be a spot that just causes it to pause. But the change in character here now is, I think you will definitely see the dips get bought as we move forward. Munich Re, probably better than the Alliances and Axes, in fairness, probably just the time here. Nordea, never really fancied this one. I think it's got too much overhead resistance and just doesn't really do anything. Nokia, fine, working higher. L'Oreal, yeah, still much prefer this to LVMH or any of those. I think it's much closer to a really big level. Like, I know it shouldn't have really have pulled back this far. It didn't stop at a really obvious spot, but good, similar bullish engulfing. Needs to grow with the moving average, but once it gets above this 460, which isn't actually that far away, there's really is a lot of room for it, and I think it's a cleaner setup than a lot of them, so I'd definitely be focusing in on that. Prozus, again, it's like running these reports for months and months, and these levels have all been marked out. Very clear break above, and it's one of the cleanest China plays. And I think that distinction between kind of stimulus beneficiaries and kind of the more direct China exposure, and I think this is right in that latter camp of direct China, and this could be a really big name over the next while. This is Ferrari, doing nothing wrong, but has definitely just lost some momentum. Even in last week's rally in luxury, didn't get up here, and the relative has definitely lost some momentum. So I think this range is just going to take time to kind of work through. So yeah, just a noticeable that it didn't rally as well as you might have thought it would this week. Pernod, same as the other guys, big move back into the moving average. It will be different to this one. I would be very surprised if this gives back anything like it did here, and more likely is we get a retracement maybe into this 135, something like that will get bought, and then you're going again. So and again, if you look at the relative here, like these are early days really in terms of the movement. So yeah, so I would see a big change in character in some of those. Let's see what sort of follow through there is, but there's no doubt that the price movement's enough to sway the view. Hermes was the best luxury name coming into this. I really not sure what this was. It just seemed to collapse for no, okay, there's obviously a reason, but there was no great rationale to the price action. In fact, here you would have thought it was actually going to go, but got gazumped. And again, we're back really quickly above this high, which is generally bullish. So I still think that's the best one of those names. But we'll see. Safran, very consistent, new highs, trending, looks great. Sanofi, just not really. Like, it's good. I mean, it's a good move from here, probably tightening up here. Maybe it just needs a few more weeks here just to really set this level up. As we said before, just so inconsistent that it's never one that really jumps off the page. Banco Santander, solid, getting above these highs. Looks like it'll trend. Neat looking setup. SAP continues to grind higher. Hard to get away into it, but working. Saint-Gobain, just probably didn't kick on this week. You would have loved a bit more, but again, it's above this channel. I'd like to see it get a bit higher this week, and ultimately I think it works higher, but would have been just nice to catch a move this week. Siemens, we've been probably a bit more negative on this one because it was just struggling below this range, but now you're right back into this 185 with a bit of power, and that's fairly telling, to be honest. So we would think that that's gonna have a run. We'll see. Stellantis just is still in a void, and it doesn't look like the other autos, to be fair. Like, I think it's in a different category, and that's why it's not one that ever really jumps out or interests. This is a kind of really clean looking head and shoulders top, sort of, and I'd say we're going to this 12 anyway, but whether it extends below it, but either way the relative would just suggest that there's better. And I think anyone that's looking at luxury and autos as the 2 week plays for recovery, I think they're going to go luxury over auto. Schneider, fine. Look, we've gone nowhere really since May. Got above, bit of a topping tail there, but still looks like it'll go higher. Total, just look, they're all weak. They're not disasters, but they're just no momentum. Unicredit, in fairness, very bullish. New all-time highs, and it still has good momentum. Like, it's up there as one of the best banks for sure. Volkswagen, again, it's interesting, I guess, today, like, in terms of it, it hasn't given back that much from what it regained last week, which I think people will view as bullish. I would say anything better than where it's trading today as a close would be fine. On the week, anything better than 93 I think is good, and clearly if you're above this high, which is kind of 98, very bullish. So we'll see, because you're obviously looking for kind of like exhaustion or the ending of the sellers. Walters Kluwer, and no change, probably running out of a bit of gas here relative, but the absolute's still pretty strong, and it's just sort of holding above the moving average, so it looks fine.